Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome in, Daily Wolves fans. It is me, Chris, again here at GSPN Daily Wolves. And with me, once again, 2 days on the trot, is James. James, you're just a glutton for punishment. Welcome back.
Yeah, I know. It's weird being here 2 days in a row. You won't see that very often.
Don't say that. Don't jinx it. You're on a roll. So yeah, welcome back, everyone. We are here to discuss the Fulham game, which is tomorrow as we record this. So it'll be going out, right prior to the game, and we can run through the thoughts of what we think is going to happen, the news from the press conference, if there is any, and just a general usual daily babble that we do here at Daily Wolves. But how have you been in the last 24 hours, James? Are you still basking in the glory of the Bournemouth victory? Have you been watching the highlights and anything? How's your week kicking off with that still running through your brain?
Yeah, great as a Wolves fan. Beating Bournemouth, who are high flying at the moment, nothing better than that. And it's made me pretty positive coming into this Fulham game, I think. We're decent form, so Fulham this season, but so pretty happy after that Bournemouth win.
Yeah, me too. It's been nice kind of being able to bask in the 5 points clear, being able to enjoy the fact that the form feels like it's returned. I'm still intrigued by the amount of people who seem to be moaning about the sending off at the weekend. As we discussed yesterday, I think it was, I kind of get it, but I also think by the letter of the law, as we mentioned, I think it's a very easy sending off. And whilst we'd be upset maybe if it happened to us, I also think, I just think it's kind of blatant and obvious. I don't know. I don't get it. But I don't know if that's just, have you witnessed any more of that?
A little bit. I think it's weird. It's one of those where you shouldn't be complaining about it. It's not one that's like so outrageous that people are going to be talking about it, like the Lewis Skelly one against us for Arsenal. And I mean, Arsenal fans are annoying at the best of times, but that was fair enough. That was a pretty harsh one, whereas this is like pretty blatant.
Yeah. But oh well, they have a chance to redeem themselves in the cup, but let's hope we can do the double, because that'd be nice. But before we get that far ahead, as we mentioned, it is the Fulham game tomorrow, hoping for another 3 points. First game at home in a few weeks, which is good. And so the press conference today, they ran through, first initial questions was obviously about injury updates. Aga, we know, is going to be out for a few weeks, so he's still on the out list. Rodrigo Gomez, who people were asking about, is still sidelined. Hwang Chan, we know, again, is going to be out for a while, so that's all unchanged. Guedes apparently is very doubtful and went for an MRI this morning in terms of on his knee, because he's got knee discomfort and they're trying to figure that out. So by all accounts, it seems like he'll be out as well. So that being said, I guess my initial questions off the back of that for you, James, is whether you think, I think for the most part, let me get this phrasing right, I think for the most part, the lineup will be fairly unchanged. However, if Gedge is still out, Larson we saw get 45 minutes. We kind of had a bit of this debate yesterday, but do you think we're going to see any changes? And if so, do we see Larson come back to the starting lineup, or do you stay strong with Minetsi given how he performed in the first half?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame about Guedes, I'd say, because he was kind of coming into his own a bit for the first time in his Wolves career. He was scoring a few goals. He was starting a bit more. He seemed like he was genuinely enjoying himself. And then injuries happened, so it's a shame. But
we saw him smile.
Yeah,
he smiled at points. We never thought that could happen.
It's unheard of for Guedes. I mean, that first season he was here, he just looked like the most uncomfortable Wolves player I've seen in years. But anyway, yeah, on Larson and Minetsi, I sticking with what I said yesterday. I think Larson should be starting, and not because Minetsi's been poor. I think he's been brilliant since coming into that striker role. As I said yesterday, again, he's CDM. We put him at striker, and he's done a pretty top job when he's there. But his finishing is just poor, and I have loved him. His hold up play is brilliant, But I think Larson putting him back in might give us that kind of edge that we haven't had recently.
Yeah, I agree. I think on the one hand, it's a little bit harsh because he's been playing. I know he's missed some chances, but he's been playing overall really well. And some of the goals in the time that he's been on the pitch have actually been made easier by the fact that he's pulling defenders out of position, even if he's not on the ball. So he does offer elements that way. But then Larson can do that just as well, not in a different kind of character, but I think he's still got that. We spoke about his off the ball as well. So I think it will see obviously Andre and Gomez still holding that to the back pretty much unchanged. I suppose there's an outside chance that Giga could come in for a few more minutes at some point, whether it's second half or from the start. But I reckon he'll stay strong with Bueno. And the biggest thing for me is that Sarabia has kind of lost out his position more recently to Bellegarde, because obviously Bellegarde has shown that he can be one of those two, but you can't drop those two, Gomez and Andre. So I think it is Kunja and Bellegarde almost, even though he's not as good on the wing, but then he has the option to come inside if one of the midfield two have to come off. And then I agree. I think Larson maybe should be given the start. And then we know that if he needs to go off because he gets exhausted, you can always either bring Minetsi on or move people around because they've all got a bit more versatility.
Yeah, I think it's a big game for Larson, mainly because people have been so happy with Minetsi coming in that striker role. I think if Larson has a poor game, fans are going to be right on his back, which I don't think should be the case. He doesn't warrant a lot of the hate he gets. And yeah, Giga, you spoke about. I said yesterday's episode that I didn't really see much of him in the game. I went back and watched it, and it wasn't the steadiest performance I've ever seen. I'll say that. So I'm sure he'll come in for like last 5-10 to kind of hopefully steady things. But yeah, it might take a while for him to kind of acclimatise to the Premier League standard, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, the other two, we saw Aga benefited from being in the cup first, didn't he, when he came in? And we saw that with Minetsi, he got some time in the FA Cup. It almost is a shame. Maybe I know it's against Bournemouth, but maybe the cup will be a place for him to get a few more minutes, because that seems to have benefited him. The others that have been coming in a little bit without the pressure of the league. I know the cup can be like, we're almost getting to the point where we could get excited about getting to the quarters or the semis or whatever it is, but even so, there's a little less stress on like all the relegation pressure. So maybe the cup is where he'll start to get a few more minutes. I think in the long run we will see more and more of him. I know he did miss a couple of bouncing balls and like miss kick, but I also, when he, after about 10-15 minutes, he did kind of steady into the game a little bit. He seemed to get a little more comfortable. It's got to be nerve-wracking coming in for your first ever Premier League appearance, but I don't know.
Yeah, especially that game against Bournemouth, red card coming in 1-0 up. It's a tough first game for him in the Premier League. It was a harsh first game, and he didn't do bad by all means. But yeah, it was just, he obviously needed to kind of just adjust himself a little bit.
Yeah. No, in the press conference overall, there wasn't too much other amazing stuff. They asked one of the two of the most key points, I reckon, or they asked him, Pereira, about the defensive improvements in the team, and talking about the back. They asked him about the back line specifically, and he made a point of stressing that it wasn't about the back line as such as it was about the overall block and the pressing as a team, and trying to train them to give them, he termed it as GPS, to like know when to navigate, when to press as a team and when to not, because if it's just done as an individual, it's not going to work. And he's just trying to train them into that. But he was stressing very much, it's not just the back line, it's the unit, essentially, it's the team. And on the back of that comment, I mean, can you see that in what he's trying to do? Have you noticed any of that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, with O'Neill and his kind of attacking gun-ho style, and there was, obviously we weren't playing as a system. It was very much a attack with Kunja, let him do his thing, and then defensively, I don't know what he told them to do. You couldn't sense any direction defensively. But with Pereira, yeah, he loves kind of when the ball's over one side. Especially I saw this especially against Liverpool. He'd chuck everyone over that side. Minetsi was brilliant at this because, of course, he's a CDM, but up top he pressed so much and he really pushed Liverpool to give the ball away in that second half. And yeah, you'd see kind of Kunja shift over and then Aït-Nouri on the left come over in the 3, and it's great to see. I mean, it's just great to see a team kind of want to get the ball that badly. It makes you really happy as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the likes of Andre Gomez, Minetsi, and Bellegarde, when they're all in a team together, however they've skewed in, it's a hell of a force in a way, because they all kind of have that little bit of aggression where they all want the ball back and they all kind of like to press and harry. So yeah, and they all kind of run themselves ragged. I like it. It allows almost for a little bit of that Kunja to do what he does, where he kind of, I don't say he drifts out of games, but he does have moments where he kind of like seems to almost walk and just kind of. It's been mentioned. Asked him in the press conference today about the fact that Kunja had said in one of his post matches that he felt that he still had stuff to improve when he was people were asking about the goal and giving all these plaudits, and they said, "What do you think he needs to improve?" And he mentioned again about defensively when the team has not got the ball, that kind of stuff. But I mean, again, I do tend to ramble, but do you get what I mean about the whole, like, having all of those workhorses around him almost allows that little bit of, I don't want to say carry him, but it just allows that little bit of freelance for him to wander around.
Yeah. No, it is clear this team is built around him. And although he's almost definitely going to go in the summer, at the moment, we are building a team around him and protecting him. And it's working. Like, why wouldn't you? When you've got a player like Kunja, it is just the pretty obvious thing to do. So yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, he's quite clearly doing that, and it's working.
Yeah, I think so. Before we move on to some facts and things ahead of tomorrow's fixture, well, let's just get a little reminder of some information from one of our friends.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right level to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Beautiful. So, I mean, you may have some of these facts as well, James, and if you have any different ones, then go for it in a second. But let's just tell everyone that. So, did you know that Wolves are unbeaten in 15 home league games against Fulham since a 4-0 loss in the second tier in April 1985? 15 home league games. I read that and I was like, as much as I think we're on a roll, it almost tempts fate that it's not going to be the case.
I did not have that one. You must have really done your research on that one. That's a great one to have. Yeah, I have a smaller scale one of just last 2 times we played, we've won both. So I think that lets us go into this game pretty confident, especially that previous 4-1 victory at the start of the season. They must be going into this thinking we can 100% get a result here. I will bring up Iwobi. I don't know if you want to talk about him, but he is always on top form against us, and he has been this season. But last 3 times we've played against him, he's got a goal in each one of those games. So I think the key to winning this would probably be shutting him down.
Yeah, you're right. He does always seem to score against us. He's one of those characters. And it's almost frustrating in that, because you guarantee if you focus on shutting him down, then Jimenez is bound to come on and score. If he's not starting, it just always seems written in the stars at some point an ex-player is going to come and do it, whether it's him or whether it's Traore. But yeah, I agree. Iwobi is definitely one of those that just, even if it's been like a last second fluke, there's always been he always just seems to come up with something. It's really, really frustrating. But yeah, sorry.
Because those two have been kind of, I wouldn't say back to their best, but they have been on pretty good form this season. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I was happy to see it. But I wouldn't mind for this game that they kind of drop off a little bit, just for this game.
Yeah, I mean they've been good overall, but I feel like they do kind of Fulham. I mean, as a team, they feel like to me, and I don't know if it's just I don't watch loads of them, but just from the bits I get, that they either are amazing or not great. There seems to be no in between, almost like we just destroy everything in our path, or we're just going to crumble. Am I witnessing? I don't watch loads of Fulham, so you may have seen them more than me. They feel a little bit sporadic, like you don't know what you're going to get.
I can see that. I think it's a little bit harsh. Because
I'm harsh.
Because it's been such a competitive season, and them being 10th, I think's fantastic for them. I can't think of any games Fulham have played this season that they've been like bad, except for the 4-1 against us, which is bizarre. But because they've been getting solid results against the likes of Chelsea, Newcastle previously, and they just seem like a team that you're right in that sense that they can turn up at any moment. But I think it's probably a little harsh to say that they're kind of flip-flopping between good and bad with their results.
Okay, I'll take that one on the chin. But so Fulham's only win in their past 9 Premier League games against Wolves was by 3-2 at Craven Cottage in November 2023.
Bad memories of that game.
Yes, you do have to go back a bit. But Wolves we could complete a Premier League double over them for only the second time. So, because despite our good form against them, there's a lot of draws and things mixed in there. But at home, we've won 11, drawn 4 in those last 15 that I mentioned. So overall, we do have a good record against them. I know I'm tempting fate with all these facts, but we've got to share with you the information that we have. And if we do win, that will be consecutive wins at home in the league for the first time since last March, when the second of those victories was actually against Fulham. So I don't know. Am I tempting fate? I don't know. But that since last March, since we had consecutive home wins. Can you believe that?
I know. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like our home record this season hasn't been as good as, say, the past few seasons, mainly because the atmosphere at the Molineux's kind of dipped a little bit so far this season. And it is a shame, because coming to Molineux, say it's a fortress, you wouldn't want to play at the Molineux. The fans will get on the away team's back. But I don't think that's been the case really this season. That might be adding to why our home record's been a bit poor so far.
Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers because we are playing well and our record against Fulham is pretty good. I believe, again, I don't have the stats in front of me. I did look at something earlier that our evening games this season, actually, our record isn't good, bizarrely, under the lights, as if you'd think it would be this season overall. Let's hope again that changes, because I do like to think of Molineux under the lights as I don't want to say a fortress because you just mentioned that, but it always feels a little bit more exciting. But that has not been the case. We've had some unlucky fixtures, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm hopeful. And you mentioned Iwobi and obviously the Wolves players we touched on, but is there anyone specifically that you're worried about, or anything that you think we should be afraid of in terms of Fulham's tactics or approach, or where do you think what could be our outdoing, I guess?
Yeah, I'll bring it back to Iwobi. Definitely him. He's been great this season. We're him and Smith Rowe kind of bossing the midfield. But it's just screams of a Adama or Raul goal and assist. You can really see it happening. I'd also just be a little worried about their defence, and because it's been pretty solid this season. As I mentioned previously, they've not had any crazy results with conceding a lot. and also Robinson, on the left. 10 assists, I think it is so far this season. So he'll be creating all of the goals. So Semedo will have to try and keep him quiet on that right hand side.
It's interesting. They mentioned, we're going back to the press conference from earlier. They were asking Vitor about Andre, about the importance of him and whether he was an unsung hero, over the kind of resurgence in form and what Vitor's trying to do. He spoke about him being really important in the balance of the team and how he blends like the defense into the attack. Do you think, I mean, there's a part of me that I was really sad when the question came up because it feels like he's kind of going a little bit under the radar. He's doing an exceptional job, but I almost feel that like people outside of Wolves maybe aren't necessarily seeing everything he does because he's just that. I think we mentioned he's just kind of like workmanlike and gets on with it, and it's not flashy stuff. It's just important to how the team works, and I think Gary O'Neill didn't feel. I don't know. It felt like he didn't know what to do with him, and he was too reluctant to drop Lamina, and didn't know how to just make that bold decision. And now under Vitor, we're seeing him consistently get games and become what he's capable of, and it's amazing. But I'm a little bit scared that people are going to start getting take him away sooner than we want him to go because I really like him. What are you making of that so far? And like Vitor's comments.
Yeah, I do want to kind of tell him just to shut up about it and just let him have a couple of years here to settle, because there's a good 3 players where other bigger clubs have got their eyes on us, like Ait Nouri, João Gomez, and Kunja, and Andre just looks like it's Newton Tower. He looks like he's going to be one of those players who is similar to kind of João Gomez is being popular with, say, Man United and getting a big money move there soon. So it would just be great to kind of shut up and keep him secret for the next couple of years, just to steady the midfield with us.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope we haven't. I know we didn't at the time. Everyone kind of felt we didn't, and we spoke about on the pod about how it was almost the least important signing or the most unnecessary signing, aside from obviously the goalkeeper situation last summer when everyone was crying for defenders, and we ended up getting a midfielder that, yeah, he's amazing, but everyone was like, we don't need another midfielder. And now it seems actually like it probably was a bargain to get him when we did for what we did, because he's showing his class. And you mentioned Ait Nouri. And the crazy thing is, we got him so young. He's only 23, and he's already doing the things he's doing. And I know we speak sometimes about the improvements he can make defensively, but he's still got so much room to develop and grow. He's 23 years old, and I think we forget that because he's been with us for such a long time. Do you just think about where he can still go?
Yeah, it's weird to think that he's been around since Nuno, because that seems like years and years ago now. And I still remember his debut against Palace, where he scored that brilliant finish, and the writing was on the wall ever since then. He seems like one of our most consistent players. I can't think of performances where he was poor, and of course his defending's maybe a little off sometimes, but he's such an eager player, and he really wants to push up the pitch on that left-hand side. And I think that's a really positive thing, especially in the way now Pereira is working that team and pushing the wing-backs much higher up and wider. I think it suits him really well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the wing-backs pushed way up against Bournemouth at points, and I think it really stemmed what they try and do in terms of, because they are really quick themselves on the wings, and I think it just gave them a lot to think about with the back 3 we have, and then the wing backs pushing way up. It really did kind of work, especially when Pedro Lima came on later on. We mentioned, because again, he wants to push. Like, every game I've seen him, whether it's been in the cup or in brief moments in the league, he's always on the far up on the touchline. He reminds me of someone like, I know he's playing at a wing back position, but like Jarvis used to stay out literally on the touchline, just waiting for someone to give him the ball, like in acres of space. And it feels like he's there. He just wants to be right on the brink of it.
Yeah. It's just great to see. You love exciting players like that who just want to get forward, get wide. And I've seen in the when Lima had his first start against Forest, some of the balls he was whipping in to the box were just the quality he has at his young age. And Larson should have put a couple of them away, but it is exciting to see. And looking forward to seeing what more he can bring to it.
Yeah, and I mean, if our form keeps improving, maybe there'll be a few more opportunities to get some minutes kind of in the closing stages of the season, because I almost feel like if I'm Vitor, if we get to a point of being, I know there's a long way to go to get to this point, but if we got to a point of being safer with a few games to go, you've got Semedo. All the discussion is about Semedo leaving because of the contract situation. And you need to kind of know, do we need someone else to cover until Lima is a bit older and a bit more experienced, or is he going to be ready? Like, it almost feels like he needs to wean in a little bit before the end of the season to know what we've got. I mean, beyond what we've already seen.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us forget that we've got a few fullbacks out on loan at the moment. I mean, Bueno at Feyenoord, he's doing a great job. He's been injured for a little while, but he came back and he just played in the Champions League game against AC Milan, and he was fantastic. And I think bringing him back, he would, because even when he was in the Prem, he was with us. I think he was a great player. I can't remember a game he wasn't good. And I think Hoover's still out on loan. I know it's been a very rough Wolves career for him.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if he can go, if he can go full circle and do a Gedge somehow and come back, that will be another miracle turnaround. Because it feels
it's been proved by Gedge. So.
Yeah, so let's not say never, but oh my word, he's one that does seem like he's just waiting to go somewhere. But yeah. Before we kind of go into some final thoughts and things, let's just take a moment to remind everyone that here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we did spend a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. So I wondered, obviously I touched on briefly what I think the lineup will be. Is there anything you wanted to go over in terms of you think there's going to be any specific changes or for the lineup or thoughts for the game before we get into like what our score predictions going to be and so on?
I think it would be a bit stupid to change anything after that Bournemouth game because we looked very secure. I don't think we looked in danger at any point. I know the last 10 were a bit sketchy, but we looked confident throughout. We looked pretty happy on the ball. I think I'd completely stick to what we were doing. So, even the subs, the same. The only exception being Larson starting over Minetsi, I think. Definitely keeping the likes of Bellegarde in the team, who's just been done a full 180 on his Wolves career. I think pretty much stick with the team except for Larson.
Yeah, there's that fun image going around social media. People are doing on Bellegarde. Is it Bellegarde? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Bellegarde on the whole like apology note, and you can tick the box whether it's because he was being played out of position or all these kind of things. Have you filled in one? And which box did you tick?
I will say I was definitely guilty to being someone who's saying, "Oh, Bellegarde's been so poor. He's been this and that," and we just forget that he was brought in as a midfielder who was being played on the wing, and he must have been so frustrated, the poor lad, just thinking he wants to get put in his right position, and he got the chance, and he just shocked everyone, and it was just such a wonderful thing to see because it was such a surprise to everyone, I think.
Yeah, I kept saying for ages, I just don't know where he's meant what his position is, and I think the reason we were saying that was because you forget that he was brought in as a midfielder, like you say, but he's being played on the wing. But it never felt like he had a natural place of being and was never put in the middle. And now he's thriving, and to the point that you feel like you can't drop him. So he did almost play as a winger at the weekend, but at least then the moment there was a chance to shift him inside when Gomez got the yellow card, that's what happened. So predictions, James. What do you think? Are you sticking with the optimism? Is it going to be a win? What's your scoreline?
I am now officially optimistic after that Bournemouth win. It's been a while, and I'm very happy to say that I think Wolves might actually get the win, and I think it'll be a close game because I do think Fulham are a great side, and I'm going to put my Wolves optimism on here and say a 2-1 win for Wolves.
Ooh, scorers? Any scorers? At least for Wolves? What you bet on?
I mean, Kunja again, and then maybe a Totti header off a set piece. I know we don't score many set pieces, but it's just kind of first thing that came to my head.
Nice. Before I announce mine, I just realized one thing I forgot to note down to mention, but I did see on social media. I don't know if anyone saw Kunya's celebration after the goal at the weekend. He did this shape with his hands. They released a clip today explaining that he did one of those kind of meet and greets at the other week where he went to meet a young kid who's been suffering with illness and give him some gifts and say hello and all that kind of stuff, which was lovely. And he agreed to, and he said he'd do a celebration for him next time he scored. And it was the J for Junior was the symbol he was doing with his hands to point the celebration towards that young kid. So if you haven't seen it, check the socials because it was really cute, really nice moment. Love stuff like that. My prediction, I'm going to go, as much as Fulham are strong, we've had some great clean sheets against some strong sides recently. So I'm going to go for another clean sheet. And because he's been getting some flack, but I think he's going to come back in the lineup, whether it's from the start or midway, I'm going to go 1-0 with Larson to score and come back to glory. That's my prediction.
Might get some backlash about that one.
Well, I've got to go bold. It's either that or Minetsi because he also deserves a goal. Just so also people get off his back. Come on, people. He's a midfielder. Give him a break. He's meant to be a defensive midfielder. I don't know what's going on. All right. Anything we didn't cover that you want to touch on before we close out?
No, I'm glad you brought up that Kunja video because I did see that earlier and I've completely forgot about it. It was nice to see. Just day by day, I'm just falling more in love with that man.
Yeah, I mean, we've been. I know I'm going to keep it happy because I've had people who've listened before know that I've got some. I'm happy that he's doing the business for this end of the season. Now the contract thing is sorted, but there's a little bit of frustration about some of that contract stuff that is in the back of my mind. And the fact that he's definitely going.
We might go over that another day. So.
Yeah, with the whole relegation release clause and everything. But I'm going to push past that. Focus on the optimism, as we say. 1-0 Larson. All right, everyone. So fingers crossed for another amazing victory back under the Molyneux lights because we desperately would love to get even further clear of the relegation zone. Have a great one. We'll be back after the game, no doubt, with some thoughts and reaction. And thank you so much, James, for being with me. And thank you much, everyone, for listening. Take care. And remember, out of darkness, cometh light.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.